Hello, my name is Robert Smith. I'd like to discuss with you the principle of human population or scale insofar as representative government is concerned as part of our course in the development of Western freedoms at Liberty University. In the opening video for our course, Dr. Carrie Roberts set the stage for this culminating issue as a question of human scale. Since that time, we have studied the ancient Greek and Roman philosophers, early England and the Magna Carta, as well as 17th and 18th century Commonwealth men, or Whigs, who fought for religious tolerance, representative government, and the rule of law. Daniel Hannan links the English Civil War with the American Revolution as, quote, connected Anglosphere civil wars, and he further links that to the American Civil War at page 229. In fact, Hannan describes the cultural connection between the United Kingdom and the United States as a, quote, continuum, unquote, at 315. Between the American Revolution and the American Civil War, Donald Livingston, in the very idea of secession, makes the argument that prior to the Confederacy, several states, including New York and Massachusetts, ironically, supported the idea of secession, citing Governor Morris's argument calling for the two states to, quote, form a more perfect union, unquote, at 41. Similarly, Forrest McDonald cites to Morris for the exact same argument, noting secession was constitutional, quote, under certain circumstances, unquote, at 281. He argues the southern states declared secession from the Union by the same means that the Constitution seceded from the Articles of Confederation by a, quote, convention elected for the purpose, period, unquote, at 281. In fact, Livingston argues the point that the Union prevailed over the southern states in a nationalist or Hobbesian suppression of a federalist or Althusian government model at pages 38, 39, and 43. He uses examples such as secession of republics from the USSR and Scotland from the UK. And he queries whether the ratio of population to representation in government has become unresponsive. For example, in the Southern tradition, Livingston compares the American population from 1910 of 100 million people to the current population of over 300 million Americans, represented by 435 representatives, 100 senators, and 9 unelected Supreme Court justices at 460. Daniel Hannan echoes these points, arguing the power of the state has become centralized through several factors, including the power of the executive, the centralization of the judiciary, and the legislature's ever-burgeoning taxation, which has resulted in a drift away from our cultural heritage as well as our seeming distance from our government. That's at pages 362 to 67. In Harmonizing Sentiments, Hans Eichholz also argues that, quote, one unfortunate long-run consequence of the War for the Union, as it was also called, has been growing impersonalization of government's exercise of massive powers and a lessening of democratic participation. That's at page 154. Eichholz underscores the distinction between a Hobbesian or national government as being one that exercises power directly versus an Althusian or federal confederation as one which exercises power indirectly. Both were created by the U.S. Constitution. In his video, Proper Size and Scale of Political Order in the Modern World, Livingston notes that the Hobbesian model of nationalism applies to large or very large societies. He makes the analogy of Hobbesian model as the vehicle and traffic law providing rules for otherwise unconnected motorists going their own way. So does the scale and size of our population render our government unrepresentative? MacDonald highlights Alexander Hamilton's argument that the national and state governments are sovereign insofar as their delegated powers and rights. Eichholz demonstrates that the American model of government was a unique combination of both a national model in the Senate and a federal model in the House. He states the Dickinson-Franklin approach ensured that the American government would comprise both elements. Page 121. MacDonald further argues, but in truth, because the framers had devised a novus ordo seclorum, or a new order of the ages, they had rendered all previous political vocabulary obsolete as it pertained to the government of the United States. That government defied nomenclature. It was not a monarchy, nor an aristocracy, nor a democracy. Neither was it yet a mixed form of government, nor yet a confederated republic at 287. In short, the United States Constitution set up a balance of power with checks and balances, built in between the sovereign states, horizontally and vertically with the national government. It set up a check and balance between representational and equal houses of the legislature and between the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. In my opinion, while centralization has occurred in terms of human population growth, the problem of government has not occurred through systemic failures. Rather, the failure has been through the people which govern the system. To quote Shakespeare, "The fault, dear Brutus, lies not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings." That's Julius Caesar, Act 1, Scene 3, lines 140 to 141. The failures of our government have not arisen from the government, but from our politicians. In the modern world, scale and size are crucial to our defense. I doubt very much that bad men, or our enemies, will give two straws about ideas of states' rights. I'm paraphrasing that from Oliver Wendell Holmes, on whom I did my research paper. The issue is the rule of law. In order to uphold our laws and traditions of liberty and representative government, the answer lies in holding our politicians accountable. Perhaps if we reform our political parties and mandate ethics and morals from our politicians, as Immanuel Kant demanded. Perhaps if we add term limits to Congress, as we did for the executive. Perhaps if we reform the media by licenses, which are required for all other professions, and even for the exercise of certain constitutional rights according to the media. And perhaps as believers in our republic, if we exercise better long-term planning, we will maintain our free form of government with which the founders added adequate provision to adapt to the modern world. Thank you for watching.